because I'm told that the numbers they're able to attract at their various meetings don't even reach the numbers in here. The 4 people and 2 dogs and a cat and a centipede that, that they're able that they're able to attract. I understand, I sympathize, sir. I do. This is a government that cares, I understand. Sir, I rise to give support to the general thrust of this legislation. I rise to give support to the purpose of the legislation, and indeed to also be able to say that this Barbados Labour Party government has been doing tremendous work in the real development of financial programs and products that are aimed to help build out a new economy, and that the government has been able to do that and has been committed to doing that in an ever-changing global environment. And I think perhaps this is something that we do not sufficiently appreciate. A former Democratic Labour Party government from 2008 to 2018 would say year after year, in response to a 2007 global financial crisis, that they had to contend with this global financial crisis. And what were they to do? They had one housing market-led global crisis that hit the banking sector and hit the mortgage sector, and we know the stories, sir, of how that had a domino effect throughout the banking system and the industry. But they lent on that crutch for a decade and suggested that this was the reason they couldn't come up with any good financial instruments, any ways to bring innovation to how a new economy in Barbados should be structured. And sir, I will never, not at the pleading of the Honourable Leader of the Opposition or anyone else, fail to remind us all what this country has recently experienced in the last 7.5 years. Sir, a pandemic is a 1-in-100-year event. And I think that sometimes what happens is that when an event of such magnitude is so well and carefully managed by a government, it looks easy. People think that it is easy. The fact that we had to not only, in advance of the actual pandemic coming here, determine, led by the Honourable Prime Minister, the Honourable Member for St. Michael Northeast, determine we were going to isolate the cases at a hospital in the north. Sir, the other members in here will attest that when that decision was made, certain leaders in other jurisdictions were still saying that COVID was going to go away and not leave the East. When that decision was made by us here in our region, there were other countries that thought, oh, there's a virus in China. It's never going to make it out of China. It's never going to make it here. And we had the foresight to be able to begin planning the health response, the infrastructure response, but further to that, the financial response, such that we were able to partner with multilateral institutions like the Inter-American Development Bank to help set up a facility for small and medium enterprises, self-employed people, for anyone who would take a hit from the shelter-in-place order that the world was under. Sir, an 18% contraction in the economy, one of the highest in any tourism-based economy in the world. But conversely, one of the fastest recoveries from that 18% drop of any tourism-based economy in the world. And so, I will never stop reminding us all of where we have come from and the environment in which we had to respond. I will never stop making reference to the pandemic, and in fact, to learn the lessons that we learned from the pandemic, nor to the ashfall. That was nothing short of an apocalyptic event when you look out your window and it felt like 30 Days of Night, as the horror film buffs would remember, nor to the hurricanes or other extreme weather events that we had. We should not stop making reference to them. And it is not to be able to find an excuse or to lean on a crutch the way the Democratic Labour Party did for 10 years over one economic crisis. But it is to understand and learn from the kinds of instruments the government had to craft to be able to keep an economy afloat, to keep food literally on people's tables, to be able to make the kinds of social investments together with partners in the third sector and in the private sector and in the multilateral community that would mean that people could thrive coming out of the event. And so I will never, sir, fail to mention those or to make apologies for the kinds of financial innovation and sound economic management that this government has exercised. Sir, my intervention today is an encouragement for us to continue with that sound economic management and with that rigor in the instruments that we develop. And I say that with reference to this Economic Diversification and Growth Fund bill, which I believe is an opportunity for us to take stock of what really is our approach to industrialization or reindustrialization, and to be able to give account for the efforts we have already made, and to be able to situate this fund within a framework, to acknowledge that this is not a standalone facility. It cannot be. It should not be seen as such, nor should it be treated as such. And sir, I will tell you why. This country has established a number of funds and facilities. At the domestic level, and the majority are at the domestic level, whereas this legislation targets companies established in other jurisdictions that do business in Barbados. And I'll get to that. But sir, at the SME domestic level, we have things like the trust loan and fund access. We have within BIDC Export Barbados a special technical assistance fund whose purpose, and I recall that it had been paused, funds were replenished, I believe, in budget year 2024-25, and the purpose of such a fund is to be able to help cover some of the, well, first of all, to target export-oriented business, and to cover some of the costs that of slowdown in cash flow would prevent them from covering. It was also intended to help with issues of technology transfer, which I will also get to shortly. But there is a special technical assistance fund set up within Export Barbados, and I also seem to recall that there were efforts to set up other kinds of export-oriented funding facilities. There is and has been the Barbados Employment and Sustainability Transformation Program, BEST, which was set up directly as a response to the tourism industry having to recover from COVID. But importantly, BEST set certain criteria. BEST said, you will have access to this financing if you are investing in modernizing your plant, you are investing in digital transformation, and you are making certain commitments with respect to your labor force, among the criteria. And so that fund, it was clear for us to see and understand the criteria for which those companies would be able to access that support. There were triggers, and there were clear ways to be able to measure what those companies or those hotels or those hospitality companies had to deliver. The Housing Credit Fund, I make mention of, but that is more of a social investment facility. There is, similarly, sir, an industrial credit fund. There is, as well, an enhanced credit guarantee fund that is administered by the Central Bank of Barbados that is also meant to help offset the risk of certain kinds of projects in which commercial banks would tend not to have an interest. And I recall, as then Minister for Economic Affairs and Investment, bringing the second iteration of that fund to the central bank and making it with the stipulation that, that a certain change had to be made. And that change was that the Enterprise Growth Fund Limited had to have a say in the decision-making. And why? Because what was happening at the time was that the facility was simply being used in cases where commercial banks didn't care to take any risk at all. And we submitted that this was not the purpose of the facility. The purpose of the facility was really to be able to address, to be able to bet on people's ideas, especially innovative ideas, technology related to climate and so on, and to be able to provide financing for those people, and that EGFL would be well placed to be able to do that. But sir, I come now to the Enterprise Growth Fund Limited, EGFL, which, to my recent knowledge, was managing a series of funds. So I'm still itemizing, sir, the number of funds that are meant to target economic growth and arguably diversification. EGFL has been managing the Agricultural Development Fund, established by the Agricultural Development Fund Act of 2001, the Energy Smart Fund, which functioned from a loan program with one of our multilateral partners, the Export Promotion and Marketing Fund, the Industrial Investment and Employment Fund. And I want us to listen to the nomenclature, because these funds were established to do arguably what the current fund is established to do. The Innovation Fund, that's number 5, being managed by the EGFL. The Small Hotels Investment Fund, the Tourism Loan Fund, the Trade Receivables Liquidity Facility, and EGFL, for its own account, was also managing their own fund. Sir, I make reference to these things because I consider the moment that this bill comes here as an opportunity for us to take stock of the kinds of investment that we are making for the purpose of export growth, for the purpose of economic diversification, and for the purpose of job-led inclusive growth in this country. And so my remarks are meant humbly to provide a bit of guidance for what I think must be presented holistically by government as a framework for how we will see the kind of diversification that we would like to see in this country. Certainly, by first being able to say, well, what is it that this fund is going to give us that those 15 or so that I have just made reference to have not? I think that it is a moment for some of that reporting and some of that accountability. Because if we are satisfied that we have not seen what we needed to see from funds such as the Innovation Fund, the Industrial Investment and Employment Fund, which, if we listen to the name, is meant to address all of these deficiencies in the economy. I think that we need to do some stock taking of those, and to be able to contextualize the conversation on this bill with respect to What have those failures been, and why? Sir, Barbados' industrialization challenge is not a problem of capital. To the extent that in this legislation, we are requiring these companies to first prove productivity within 3 years, to then be able to access this fund, it means that such a company would already have to have capital on which they have been operating, would already have to have a certain number of jobs in place to be producing on the basis of those jobs, and should have brought with them the kind of structure that would allow them to produce. By definition, that's what is required by the fund. I cannot imagine either, sir, that Barbados' industrialization or reindustrialization challenge is a problem of incentives. Sir, in the 2024 budget, there were certain announcements made with respect to a fiscal incentives framework. That fiscal incentives framework made reference to things like an additional 25% non-refundable tax credit being introduced to boost the 50% research and development tax credit for projects related to the ocean and to the greening of the economy. Similarly, for projects related to that will result in net zero emissions in Barbados. Similar incentives for investments in projects that promote the government's national development strategy. And sir, a series of incentives announced in last year's budget that were meant to encourage research and development, particularly in some of the areas, science, pharmaceutical production, and technology, that the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central mentioned in his presentation. And so, sir, having announced the fiscal incentives framework in 2024, having reference to the range of existing funds under several ministries of government, and having regard as well to the question of whether the gaps that we are seeing tell of a problem with capital. So to put it simply, a company that is bringing foreign direct investment, that is coming to have substantive operations here, must surely be bringing capital. I would suggest that that is part of why we want to have them. We want to have their industry. We want to have, and one of the reasons that I tend to believe in open borders is that I very much believe in what we saw through the Welcome Stamp program and what we saw even through having Ross University established here, which is that when people come to Barbados with good ideas and with a certain approach to innovation, it rubs off. But there are only 270,000 of us. And so we want to have them bring that innovation here. But they have to be coming with capital. So if they come in with capital, what is our capital here doing? And I ask that as a sincere question, because I think it is important to understand what triggers a disbursement under this fund. What triggers a disbursement? And what is the nature of the disbursement? Is the disbursement a loan? Is it a grant for a particular purpose? It is not clear, and I'm sure that I will be schooled or at least given some more information in the interventions that will follow. But I do believe that if we are adding a new innovative facility to the suite of fiscal incentives, legislation that deals with concessions, and other funds that we have, that the triggers and the mechanisms to qualify should equally be made clear to us. I think the legislation would even have benefited perhaps from including in one of these schedules an application form so that we are aware, either through having one of the forms in these schedules. I've been here since 2018. And we now know, having given the Honourable Member for St. Joseph some of those gray hairs in his beard because he has had to take us through the process for perfecting legislation in here, but I certainly have learned enough from him and his team to understand that these are the corollaries to the substantive bill itself, in the regulations, in the schedules. These are the places to put the details to give us some more information. Certainly to understand what are the thresholds, how does one qualify. We see that there's a committee that is arguably a light governance touch, because whereas most funds under management certainly have a very robust governance mechanism, I think perhaps we would benefit from hearing a bit more about the governance mechanism intended for this one. But sir, the problem of industrialization that we have is, and I say it's not a capital problem because there's capital out there. And we have sent certain signals to the market about where we would like to see that capital invested. There's a climate investment plan that has everything, including the kitchen sink. It is a well-developed piece of work. It is what causes countries, and we heard this for many years in climate negotiations. Institutions would say to us, well, yes, you all say that you want a reduction in emissions. You all say that you want investment in adaptation. But what does that look like? What do you need? What are the projects? Where are the bankable projects? And they said it in quite a supercilious way, I do have to say sometimes, because they were telling us frontline countries on the front line of the climate crisis, but y'all just asking for things, but y'all don't really know what you want. And we told them, we showed them that we know what we want. We developed, the Member for Christchurch East Central and others working together, developed the instruments to give to the global community. We said, no, we ain't begging for things, here you go. We have shown you how to do this. There's an energy transition plan separately. And so we've sent signals to the market about the kinds of investment we want to attract. And there is capital out there. So the reindustrialization problem that we have is not a capital problem. It is not one of sufficient incentives. The Member for Christchurch East Central and his team made sure of that in the budget of 2024. I'm not sure where the execution is, but certainly the intent and the framework itself is there. So those are not the issues. We do, though, have a technology transfer problem in this country. And while the bill speaks to employment, and while the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central rightly emphasized the fact that we want this employment to be higher responsibility, high wage posts or roles in the businesses, we have a technology transfer problem. And what do I mean by that? We keep talking about innovation. We keep talking about technology transfer. We keep talking about innovation. 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 We keep But we are still working to have to set up the means by which a young person who studies science and technology at the University of the West Indies comes up with a product, or somewhere else, or at SJPI, or anywhere else, comes up with a product that is worthy of entering the market. The pathway for that to happen is a mystery. And so we in Barbados are actually having to solve the problem that many emerging economies have, which is, how do we set up the wherewithal to be able to make sure that these ideas, by investing in intellectual property development and so on, how do these ideas hit the pipeline to be able to get into the market? Bringing companies here that work in science, pharmaceutical production, technology, and so on, could be a first step in that direction. But I certainly don't see a clear pathway for those companies to partner with existing institutions to be able to have that technology transfer happen in a sustainable way. Sir, I think that sometimes we pay a little bit of lip service to this idea of innovation, and we think that it is simply a question of having an idea. I was pleased to see some months ago the Honourable Member for St. James North make reference to a focus on how we teach math and science, and a clear investment in changing that. Because I have seen scenarios, countries, where there is a technology park, where there is a technology industry of companies that come in, and in a parallel way, there is an under-adaptation of science and technology by the indigenous population. I have seen it in several jurisdictions. And so then what you have is a thriving, innovative sector fueled by external companies, a wall, and then a country that continues to struggle with its own technology transfer and innovation. And so I would imagine that the same ease with which decisions are made under this fund, which is ease, it seems like it would be quite simple to be able to access the fund, although which triggers we are not sure. But I would imagine that we intend that with the same ease with which companies can access this fund, that we intend to improve the ease with which our young people or others who are working to have their ideas brought to market as young innovators also access support. Sir, as I close, I want to put my remarks in context. I have been and proud is a word I don't like to use. I've been very pleased to have been a part of a Barbados economic team that has shown the world what it means to be small but significant. I would not for the world. The member for Christchurch East Central and I used to joke a bit about how all of the economic action happens in other kinds of jurisdictions, except for those like ours. I mean, when the IMF brought a new, I forget the designation, team leader, or I believe he was from Argentina. I'm not sure if he's still there. Yes, the mission chief from Argentina. And the evening that we met, learning that he was from Argentina, we were a bit jealous. Because we were saying, there's so much action. Argentina's economy has gone through so many things. And being an economist in that environment, oh, the things you must learn. Sir, before I was drawn into political service, along with member of Christ Church Essential some years ago, I was about to leave to go to do a PhD in economics on the continent of Africa. And people ask me, but why would you want to work in economics in Africa? And I said, because there's so much action. There's so much action. As an economist, you want to be where you have big, difficult problems to solve for large populations. That's a fact. But sir, the continent doesn't have anything on Barbados the last 7.5 years that we've been through. Argentina doesn't have anything on Barbados. The difference is we have had very clear, generally, solid economic governance. And so we haven't had the peaks and troughs, but what we've had is a team that since 2018 put all of our best brain cells forward with our external partners and came up with some truly innovative things. And, you know, that experience I would not trade for anything. The member for Christ Church Essential and those of us who worked on these instruments can go anywhere in any crisis and say, I can help you. I guarantee it. And so my questions on this legislation are simply to ensure that we continue on that trajectory, that we keep intact, that we protect that record, and that we are able to structure this very important fund with the same rigor and attention to detail that we have the others. And with those words, sir, I'm obliged.
Honourable Member for Christ Church West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Let me first start in a similar vein that the member for St. Michael South Central started, in support of this matter. And I want to fully lend my support to this bill that is before the House today. I think it is an innovative piece of legislation to give opportunities to other companies other than ones here in this country. And let me first start by saying that the Honourable Member for St. Michael South Central went through a series of funds that mainly relate to local companies, predominantly for local companies. This legislation gives an opportunity also for foreign companies rather than just local companies. And I think it's important to understand that companies, even although they may be successful, can still benefit from another or increased injection of capital. This is why development banks and merchant banks exist, to be able to give additional capital to sometimes, very often, successful companies. You know, Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Member asked the question why it's important for a company who already has capital to want more. But it made me reflect on something that the now President of Barbados once told me. And he looked at me and he said, you know, and he said this as he took off his glasses, he said, you know, I can see without wearing glasses. I can see without wearing glasses. But when I wear glasses, I see even better. And I'm not going to tell you what he was referring to with respect to wearing glasses and not wearing glasses. But it gives the point that sometimes a company, an individual, a country has to take certain measures to improve on what was otherwise a successful venture. And this is partly what this is about. Now, I agree with the Honourable Member on one topic in particular, and it comes to technology transfer. Technology transfer is a big problem. It's a big problem because people see it as proprietary information, that they have proprietary information on their particular technique, and because of that, there's a cost of whether they should transfer that technology. But I think that as a corollary to this legislation, it should be a requirement that any new technologies, any new research and development that is coming, that we're assisting as a country to bring, should have an element of technology transfer. And I accept that for sure. You know, Mr. Speaker, when I listened to the Honourable Member, well, I would call him the Leader of the Opposition, and he referred and spoke about the travel of the Honourable Prime Minister. I remember clearly, Mr. Speaker, in this honourable chamber, the Honourable Prime Minister brought how much her travel had costed and how much value she had brought by virtue of that travel, times and times and times over the travel. And for him to come and suggest that there's been no value, the amount of grant money that the Water Authority alone has benefited, the amount of investment that the Prime Minister has been able to garnish to come to Barbados, the amount of conferences bringing 800, 900, 1,000 people who want to come to the country that is led by a global leader in the climate crisis is immeasurable. And I found it highly, I would call it unprofessional. There could be much worse things that I could say. But let me keep it parliamentary and say unprofessional for the member, the Leader of the Opposition, to go down a road when he knew full well that there's been significant benefit brought to this country by the Prime Minister looking outside. You know, Mr. Speaker, we are a country of 166 square miles with, I don't know, a couple hundred, few thousand companies, a few hundred, maybe 40, 50 in manufacturing. We, as a people, are risk averse. Whether we like it or not, we are risk averse. People in our part of the region, we do the tried and tested all the time. Nobody is prepared to step outside the box and try something new. And if you're going to try something new, you do it small. You're taking a little chance. You're trying a thing. But as a people, as a whole, research and development, very little. Opportunities and experiments to find new ways and new things and new procedures, very, very minimal. So what we have to do in order to enhance and develop our country is to bring expertise from outside. And this gives an opportunity to attract new investment. This gives an opportunity to attract new people. This gives an opportunity for people outside of Barbados to say, hey, this is an opportunity for me to come and do research here. And you know, Mr. Speaker, just a few days ago, I met with a company who's prepared to come to Barbados to not only do research and development, but to bring their company here that, you know what, makes intravenous bag fluids. That's right. Millions and millions of intravenous bag fluids for export. To export intravenous fluids to the rest of the region. These are opportunities that we must hold on to. You know, Mr. Speaker, when I heard the Honourable Member, the Leader of the Opposition, speak about growth and how growth isn't trickling down and so on, but you know, at least we had growth. The Democratic Labour Party cannot school the Barbados Labour Party on growth ever, ever, ever. In their lost decade, they never even went past 1%, and they had inflation to help them. That's right. They had inflation to help them. So if you took out inflation, they had decline, not growth. This Barbados Labour Party, on the other hand, we have recorded 17 quarters of growth, and we will continue to record growth across this region. Because you know what? We go to work, and we work every day to bring growth to this country. You know, in the same way that last 10 years was the lost decade, I would suggest that we are in 7.5 years of this decade of restoration. This is the decade of restoration. This is the decade to restore confidence in Barbados and in Barbadians. This is the decade to restore growth to this country. This is the decade to restore upgrade after upgrade after upgrade. This is a decade of restoration. This is the decade to restore, rebuild, and regenerate an economy that is perking, an economy that is abuzz, and we will continue to take this country forward because the Barbados Labour Party is working and working well. And let me say, Mr. Speaker, when Labour seeds, Bajans succeed. And we are seeing the success time after time after time. Success in tourism, success in construction, success in industry, success in education. You name the sector, agriculture, success, sports, success, empowerment of the people, success. Whichever it is, whichever ministry, success after success after success. Because when Labour leads, Bajans succeed. Mr. Speaker, just a few more points. I actually don't think that you have to speak long to make an impactful presentation. Now, I heard the Honourable Member speak about foreign labour coming to this country. And I sat back and aghast. Foreign labour coming to this country being a problem? But how could that be? First thing, Barbados is well known for Guyanese labour coming and working in construction. And if it wasn't for the last administration sending back thousands of them, they would still be here today helping us in construction. That's had a deleterious effect on the small shops, on the landlords, on the bus people, everybody across the country. That's number one problem. Now let's say, okay, he says extra-regional. Mr. Speaker, you could cast your mind back to 2008 when the Democratic Labour Party brought Filipino nurses to work in this country. Would them extra-regional though? And further, they went and changed the law to accommodate the registration of those nurses in 2008. Because at that time, there wasn't a law for registration of nurses that were foreign. And they changed the law. You can look it up on the Parliament website, 2008 registration of nurses, nursing rules. When they changed it, that the minister could change to whoever and wherever the institution was that the person was trained, which was different from what it was before the act that it repealed. So the Democratic Party cannot tell us anything about growth. They cannot tell us anything about foreign labor. They cannot tell us anything about how to run a country effectively and efficiently. Because this Barbados Labour Party has shown it, has proven it, has brought the percentage growth of GDP to less than 100% for the first time in a long, long time. This is the decade of restoration, and the Barbados Labour Party is leading from the front. I'm obliged.
Honourable Mr. Michael South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I really do not intend to be long myself, but I felt it necessary to share a few thoughts, only because as we've endured the contribution from the opposition leader, it is clear to me that the honourable member, insists on taking this country down a very dangerous path. And I say so, Mr. Speaker, not very lightly. There are many who believe that people who speak for very long times and use glorious words, sir, are somehow exercising leadership. The honorable member has a tendency to quote Shakespeare, sir, Cicero, Homer, all kinds of people. Shakespeare reminds us, sir, today he reminded us of Hamlet and something wrong in Denmark, trying to cast aspersions on the government as always. But in that very Hamlet, sir, there was a character called Polonius. And I'm speaking through you, hopefully, to the opposition leader, wherever he is, because he likes to talk Shakespeare, so perhaps he will follow me. There is a character called Polonius, sir, who speaks in very long speeches, full of verbosity. He goes on and he goes on. Mr. Speaker, sir, he has a lot to say, but Shakespeare himself, that the opposition leader loves, warns us against characters like Polonius, Mr. Speaker, sir. In fact, he makes it clear, sir, the irony is that it is Polonius to whom the line, "to thine own self be true," emanates. And that "to thine own self be true" was Shakespeare actually making a mockery of Polonius, because Polonius was far from true to himself. In fact, the line goes on to say that if you're true to yourself, then you cannot be false to any other person. And we know that the opposition leader has been false to the people in Christchurch South. We don't need any more proof than that. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I found it extremely disheartening. I wouldn't even say offensive. That was his words, Mr. Speaker, sir. To sit here and have to endure the attack that was launched on the Honourable Prime Minister. The Honourable Member for Christchurch West just spoke very clearly about the fact that the PM came here, Mr. Speaker, sir, and laid the facts. Laid the facts. Dollar, every cent, what it cost, what it got Barbados, Mr. Speaker, sir. And we saw when the attack was then turned, because that's all this was, you know. The opposition leader said he's going to maltreat us. Last time he spoke, he ain't fretting for nobody in here, because Parliament now is a place where you come to war. But Mr. Speaker, sir, the Honourable Member for St. Philip South got up and gave facts. Again, try to explain what GDP is and how it works. But the opposition leader is immune to facts and impervious to reason. And there is nothing that is said that can change the opinion that he takes, sir, the Honourable Member, regardless of the facts, Mr. Speaker, sir. But the attack that was launched on the Prime Minister, I found especially repugnant and despicable, Mr. Speaker, sir. And to say that he does not mean to cast aspersions or he's not don't take it personally, don't mean it personally. But you can't say such things and then excuse yourself by saying don't take it personal. You're not meaning a personal offense. No offense was meant, Mr. Speaker, sir. The leader of the opposition said that the PM at the government purse goes on personal business, Mr. Speaker, sir. And that in itself is so offensive and salacious, Mr. Speaker, sir. I only said because I believe that the leader of the opposition believes that we are now in a political season. And what we have passing off as policy is politics, Mr. Speaker, sir. And that, as the Honourable Member for St. Michael South Central said, perhaps it is because he thinks he has occasion to hold us hostage to the things that he exposes in here, even though they have no relationship whatsoever to fact, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I have traveled with the Prime Minister. I traveled with the Prime Minister, sir, in, I think it was February, Mr. Speaker, sir, at a time, and these things need to be said, at a time when this country, sir, was not of reputation that it is now. When we came to office, Mr. Speaker, sir, people were not taking Barbadian dollars. They were joking in the market that even in Guyana, at the time when Guyana wasn't as wealthy as it is now, even Guyana was refusing Barbadian dollars, Mr. Speaker, sir. But I traveled with the Prime Minister, sir. It was freezing. And we walked, sir. We were in Canada, Mr. Speaker, sir, going from bank to bank. I would never forget it, Mr. Speaker, sir. It is shameful behavior to have to endure it from the opposition leader, sir, because he knows it is untrue. We went from bank to bank, Mr. Speaker, sir. The Prime Minister then could hardly get an audience with senior members in the bank. I want you, the country, to understand how people treated Barbados when we came into office because of the abuse of the Democratic Labour Party, sir. We could not get an audience with senior members of banks, far less heads of states, Mr. Speaker, sir. And to say that the Prime Minister is on a frolic, which was his word, is on a frolic because of her own personal interests, sir, is as despicable as it could be, sir. We were walking through the cold, bank to bank, PM making the case, making the case. Every place we go, they're sending down middle managers, sir. This was probably 2019. Nobody of a senior level in the banks who wanted to meet with us, Mr. Speaker. And I watched right next door, sitting next to the PM, as she fought and she fought. And if you travel with the Prime Minister, sir, any person, public servant or otherwise, sir, who travel with the Prime Minister would tell you there are no breaks. You hardly stop even to eat. Just working, just working, just working, Mr. Speaker, sir. I was there. And I like to think, Mr. Speaker, sir, that I am hardworking, especially back in 2019. I thought that I had this idea that I work hard. I realized what working hard was. Never once pausing for this country, Mr. Speaker, sir. I know that the Honourable Prime Minister loved this country with all of her heart. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition went further. He even went on to say that it is now a dereliction of duty. Her travels are a dereliction of duty to the country, Mr. Speaker, sir. I didn't get up and interrupt him because I know he likes to post his the Honourable Member likes to post his 30-second clips of him attacking the government. Yeah, have your 30 seconds of fame. But at the end of the day, sir, it is all untrue. That she's somehow, no, this is a dereliction of duty. Furthermore, and here's the irony, that somehow she's no longer running the ministries. Now, the same Prime Minister that they accuse of being a dictator for running the ministries is now to be accused of not running the ministry because it's convenient for the Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Speaker, sir. No matter what position the Prime Minister takes, sir, we have to understand that this is the position that the Leader of the Opposition takes, and we've seen it before. That somehow you can attack the leader of the country over and over and over again. We saw it, sir, in 2008, 2007. They did it with the former Prime Minister, sir, the Right Excellent, Owen Arthur. I remember a picture of Owen Arthur in the newspaper enclosed like he was some dictator, sir, as a tactic of the Democratic Labour Party. And we hear it all the time. And they feel that if they can attack the Prime Minister, they can somehow bring down an entire government, sir. But I am telling you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and I don't feel the PM needs any defense. But I have lived and worked with the hardest working person I have ever lived and worked with in my life, sir, in the form of the Honourable Prime Minister, sir. I am happy to be associated with her and happy to be associated with the works that she has done, sir, and the leadership that she has brought to this country. Leadership is not words, Mr. Speaker. Leadership is not words, and words are not wisdom. Works are wisdom. And for all of the speeches that we have been subjected to in this place from the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Speaker, sir, I have never once heard a solution to anything, not even to the many made-up problems that he has created for himself. I have never heard a solution to anything, Mr. Speaker. All we do time after time is to come here and be subjected to these conversations, sir, that are made up, sir, accusing the PM of not being a good leader, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I will give you 2 examples, and then I want to speak about some other things. But I am so disheartened, not upset or offended, disheartened by the contribution of the Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Speaker, sir, because that is theater, and that is for posting, and that is for people to come on and comment and say, oh, look how he's taking the government to task. Mr. Speaker, when I was first elected as a minister, chosen as a minister, sir, we started this debt financial swap conversation. The debt financial swap, sir, and I'll be very brief on this, sir, the idea was that a country is in such a bad state that people will buy it will sell its debt for cheap. We had in opposition, sir, and the Leader of the Opposition was there. He signed the book. When we were in opposition, Mr. Speaker, sir, we all got together, sir, and we discussed the debt swap. It's in our manifesto. It's not new. We discussed it, sir. We agreed that given the state of the country, it probably would be a good thing to try to free up some local currency to invest into the environment, sir, through a debt swap. What we did not know By the time we started the conversation for the debt swap, sir, that the economy under the leadership of the Prime Minister had performed so well that the precepts, that the ideas around the insolvency almost of the country had been shattered. Our debt at the time was trading at par. Countries that were in that state, sir, were trading at 40 cents below the dollar, 35 cents. We were trading at par. And there were days, look it up, there were days when people were so confident in our leadership, Mr. Speaker, sir, the leadership of the Prime Minister, because this is what this is about. This whole thing, Mr. Speaker, sir, is a try to destroy the Prime Minister. Try to destroy the reputation, try to destroy her efforts, Mr. Speaker, sir. I know that this country is proud of the leader that we have. But there were days when our debt was trading above par. This is unheard of, Mr. Speaker, sir. Within a year of us coming to, so that the debt financial swap that we had originally imagined, we couldn't do because the country was performing so well, sir. I was there in COVID. And I saw some brave, bold decisions being made, sir, that even myself, I started questioning these decisions. But it turned out to be the right thing. The Prime Minister often says that morals and values and principles only mean something when it becomes difficult to stand by them. And during COVID, sir, it was very difficult to stand by them, sir, but I watched what leadership is, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I would be hard-pressed to sit here and to allow the leader of the opposition to taint the reputation of the leadership of this country, sir, for short-term progress. Because when you do that, sir, you expose the whole country for a lot longer than you imagine. For self-preservation, the leader of the opposition. For self-interest, the leader of the opposition, sir. I am disheartened by the comments, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I believe, sir, that the leader of the opposition, well, I hope that the leader of the opposition can do better. We explained through the form of the Honourable Member for St. Philip South how GDP works. And every time we got to explain it for every single produce. And so this is what it is, it's theater. Tell me how it is on watermelons. Will you just understand how it works? Tell me how it is on this. Tell me. Sir, for those who are listening, that is performance. It is not progress. It is just performance. It is theater, it's cheap tricks, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I am grateful that the Honourable Member for St. Philip South was able to respond to him in the way that he did. And you know, Mr. Speaker, sir, I would want to believe that it was ignorance in the true meaning of the word. That perhaps in the true dictionary sense of ignorance, that the leader of the opposition did not know any better. I would want to believe, sir, that even though the facts have been made clear that perhaps when the lights are off and the camera is no longer on him, that he would reflect, the Honourable Member, sir, would reflect on the wisdom that was shared in this place. I would want to believe that. But I have to believe, Mr. Speaker, sir, I have to believe that the word malicious, in the true sense of the word, sir, when these kind of aspersions are cast, sir, well, perhaps I should say I wouldn't want to believe so that you don't have to caution me. I would not want to believe that is malicious, Mr. Speaker, sir. Because we know, Mr. Speaker, sir, I watched every member in here as they spoke, sir, get up and explain the reality of what is going on, sir, and it makes absolutely no difference, just criticism without solutions. And in a sense, what did we have here? An opposition leader who had determined that for political expediency, he would turn on the business community, turn on the very farmers, turn on the entrepreneurs, turn on the workers, Mr. Speaker, sir. That's what it is. If it is that this country is performing so terribly, all of the various sectors that make it up, sir, are being turned on by the opposition leader. We came into office, sir, and we determined we were going to build a country through partnership. Partnership, working with other people. That is why most of the hard decisions that were taken in this country were not taken in the cabinet room. Those decisions that were taken at the social partnership, where business sits and where labor sits. And now where the members of the NGO community from time to time sit, Mr. Speaker. So that's where the difficult decisions are taken, Mr. Speaker, because we determined that we want to build this country out through partnership. And that all that we have done to build the country, sir, would be lost in a few years, few months, few weeks under the leadership, if you can call it that, sir, of the honourable member who represents or should represent Christchurch South, Mr. Speaker, sir. And this is all that we are having, a range of politics, Mr. Speaker, sir. We cannot grow this economy by attacking people. We cannot grow this economy by attacking people, sir. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, sir, they said it wasn't going to be long. I mean, I have a lot to say. I won't say it today. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, in relation to growth, when I was first campaigning, I used to say in GDP, the only P that matters to me is people. Don't tell me about GDP. I want to hear about people, Mr. Speaker, sir. But I live in the real world. And we know that countries have to be able to grow. We know that you have to be able to commit yourself, Mr. Speaker, sir, to having inclusive growth. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is a very dangerous commentary to say that there's been nothing done in this country and that all we are is committed to growth, Mr. Speaker, sir. I suspect that within the next few weeks, the facts will prove the opposition leader wrong in a way, sir, that he cannot dispute, although we have seen that facts mean nothing to influencing his opinion. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, was it not this country, sir, that put in place the $600 for people when we went through COVID? That was supposed to be for a few months, sir, that is still going on today? Was it not this Barbados Labour Party, sir, under the leadership of the same Prime Minister that the honourable member for Christchurch South has said, sir, is not a good leader? Was it not under this leadership, sir, that we created a resilience unit that finds housing in circumstances where people can't find housing? Was it not this Labour Party, sir, that raised welfare by 40%, Mr. Speaker, sir? Was it not this Labour Party that before we went on to the IMF program, the Prime Minister said before he carried people on a long march, I must give them breakfast, sir, and gave people pay raises, Mr. Speaker, sir? The evidence is clear. Legislation for the elderly, for the disabled, for the poorest of the poor among us, to protect the children, Mr. Speaker, sir. What is that? When I look at what is happening, sir, in training, the honourable member for St. James South every single week, bringing another training program, keeping me too busy, really. Another training program, more and more training for the vulnerable. Is that not leadership, Mr. Speaker, sir? Is that not the basis of inclusive growth? And I ask the honourable member through you, sir, if these things do not prove that we are balancing growth, sir, while maintaining our basis, sir, because we have been a genuine Labour Party. Mr. Speaker, sir, I just came, as I stepped out and I came back, sir, and somebody stopped me. And they were arguing, why is this government continuing to raise minimum wage, sir? Why do y'all keep raising minimum wage? What's going to happen to the businesses was the question that was asked of me. And my response, sir, is what will happen to the people if we do not look out for the poorest of the poor, Mr. Speaker, sir? That is who we've been. So it is disingenuous, Mr. Speaker, sir, bordering. It is disingenuous, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the opposition leader to come to this place, Mr. Speaker, sir, and to say those kinds of reckless statements, Mr. Speaker, sir, for political mileage. And that while he sat on this side, Mr. Speaker, sir, silence. Total and absolute silence. I would advise Barbados, if they want to see what the honourable leader is made of, to go and watch the election speeches from 2018. When this Labour Party was the best thing, and the Democratic Labour Party was the worst thing. And the only thing that has changed is that he is cross-sized, Mr. Speaker, sir. And nothing else has changed, Mr. Speaker, sir. This is about self-interest and self-pursuit at the expense of a country that we love, Mr. Speaker, sir. And you hear it time after time, no matter what we bring to this house. The honourable member for Christchurch East Central, sir, praised for working extremely hard, the hardest working minister, but at the same time trying to lure his constituents against him, Mr. Speaker, sir, because that is the nature of the politics being practiced, sir. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to end by just asking this country to understand what performance is. And if there is to be a judgment, if the honourable leader of the opposition feels that he wants to weigh himself and his leadership approach, if I can call it that, sir, I am a student of leadership, Mr. Speaker, sir. I have studied it at the highest level, so I am challenged to accept what I see here as leadership. But if he chooses to call it leadership, Mr. Speaker, sir, and he would want to compare his leadership style to that of the Prime Minister, sir, put it to the people, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I am telling you, sir, he will be found wanting when he weighs himself in the balance, Mr. Speaker, sir. I had no intention of intervening in this debate, Mr. Speaker, sir, but to watch what I know is a trick by the DLP, sir, a one-trick kind of pony. Let us knock down the Prime Minister, say whatever we can say against the Prime Minister, and you hope that it gives us some political value, because if we can knock down the leader, we don't going to knock down the rest of them. And so go after the Prime Minister time and time again, say the worst things against a person, sir, who has brought nothing but honor to this country. And all of us who sit here, all of us who travel know it, nothing but honor to this country, Mr. Speaker, sir. The members of the disabled community have asked me more than one occasion to thank her. Elderly people have asked me more than one occasion to thank her. The poor and the disenfranchised, the marginalized have asked me on more than one occasion to thank her. I thank her on behalf of the people of this country who are happy to have the kind of leadership that the Prime Minister has shown, Mr. Speaker, sir. I thank the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central for the work that he is doing, sir, to be able to bring growth and to recognize, sir, that we are using that growth to advance the interests of the common man in this country, because that is who we are. With those few words, sir, I am thankful.
Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I do appreciate the support of honourable members, because I too, sir, was quite alarmed at what I was hearing. And I know that earlier today we spoke, well, not we, but the honourable member for St. Michael South had raised the spectre of Don Quixote. And I think what we witnessed this afternoon, sir, was the full expression of a person, sir, who is living in a completely different reality and wants the rest of us to participate in that reality, sir. And I thank the honourable member for St. Philip South for bringing absolute clarity, sir, to the nasty charge that somehow the other, the central bank and the statistical service was somehow cooking the numbers to inflate agriculture production in this country. And when you attempt, sir, to bring into disrepute credible institutions, sir, that are working on behalf of this country, I think there's a shame. I can't use the right word to describe it, but it's a shame, sir, and a blot on this parliament. Now, let me remind the honourable leader of the opposition that not under this government, no central bank governor didn't go out there making up his own survey because he didn't like the numbers, as was the case under the previous administration. That is not what we do, sir. We revisit our methodologies. We make sure that we capture more and more people each time we go and do the surveys, or more businesses, to ensure that we know more about what is happening in the sector. So as the honourable member of St. Philip South, sir, through a couple of things. We had the feed program, sir, which the honourable member knows full well when we came into office to get more people involved in agriculture, a lot more young people involved in agriculture, sir. We introduced the feed program. And that feed program has been working, and therefore, if you did not add, sir, the output from the feed program to what was being produced with the traditional agriculture before, then that would not make sense, sir. You had to include that. But as I said on Tuesday, sir, we are now seeing more and more agricultural lands being brought back into production because of us being able to resolve the plantations that the Democratic Labour Party, sir, pledged to back the OECS liabilities under the CLECO failure. As a result of the Ministry of Agriculture now bringing those lands back into production, then naturally, sir, agricultural production will increase. So for the 10 years, for the most part, that the Democratic Labour Party was in office, sir, those plantations were out of production. Bear Cowich, sir, confusing the neighborhoods in this country, and he can come in here to question the fact that we have been able to bring these lands back into production. No, sir, I know that the public it's Christmas. People out, I just stepped outside, and then people out there getting on with the business, sir, of growing the economy. People out there in Marhill Street, sir, Palmetto Street, walking through town, sir, with the bags, sir. I know meet a few old ladies around the corner there, sir. Bags full, trolleys full, sir. So when he wants to know where the growth is, let him go into town now, sir, and he will see the growth in this Barbados economy, sir. And we don't say that lightly. So when people start questioning minimum wage and what's happening to businesses, sir, if people have a little more money to spend, what do you think they're going to do with it, sir? They're going to spend it at any business who does not understand that you have to be able to put a little trala, sir, in people's pockets, especially when you've had a decade, sir, and I make this point again. I recall, sir, 2 weeks ago, I reminded the leader of the opposition that the first minimum wage order was delivered in December of 2004, sir, and it only changed, sir, in 2021. So under the Democratic Labour Party, all of those people were on $6.25, sir, when every year they were coming to this place, increasing taxes, consolidated fund, all of these, not the consolidated, but the social responsibility levy, and all of them, all of those things are pounding on people, increasing the VAT, everything on people, sir. And yet still, they're going to tell us, sir, that we don't look out for people. We, sir, have been able to deliver more wages for people, and yes, we would love it to be more, sir, but the international environment is such that prices, not because of anything the government has done, sir, but costs globally have gone up. But we have been able to respond as best we can in much the same way, sir, as we've been able to do with other issues. And the reality is, sir, that I am absolutely confident that, yes, the people will like a few more dollars in the pocket. Yes, they would. And therefore, I see and witness that as I went out there just now to conduct some business, sir. And we will continue to make sure, sir, that we have more inclusion by being able to bring additional business. And with additional businesses in the ecosystem, existing businesses will benefit from that additional activity, sir. And therefore, it is important that we understand the genesis of this. I will just correct one thing. Just a main one thing that the Honourable Member for St. Michael South just said. And that was related to the fact that 7.5 years ago, if you listen to the speeches of the Barbados Labour Party versus that of the Democratic Labour Party, two things have changed. Okay. Two things, not one, two. What you said, yes, he crossed the floor. But this Barbados Labour Party, we have delivered, sir, on those speeches that we gave to the people of this country. Such note that our record, it wasn't just speeches, it is records. So when the Honourable Member speaks of performance, we have delivered what we said that we will deliver. In spite of the challenges that we have faced, we have got on with the business of delivering for our people. And therefore, this bill is another tool, which I believe, sir, we will be able to add alongside the other work that we are doing across the rest of the economy, so that Barbados' economy becomes much more resilient, much more inclusive. And therefore, sir, there's nothing that we have done in this Parliament in 7 years. Well, I've been in this job, sir, 7 years, 6 months, and 15 days. 15 days, sir, I've been in this job. And we have come to this place, sir, not willy-nilly, because we ain't got nothing to do on a Tuesday or Thursday, sir, but because everything that we have done here, sir, has had a significant impact to improve the lives of every single Bajan, sir, and we will continue to do that, whether it is this bill or any of the other pieces of legislation, sir, that we bring to this place, because the truth is, sir, there is no difference between what people might try to create this myth that there's a difference between the society and the economy, sir. Everything is linked. Social empowerment, social investment equates, sir, on the other side, with respect to economic enfranchisement, and us being able to ensure that families can generate wealth and pass that wealth from one generation, sir, to another. And so that is our philosophy as the Barbados Labour Party, sir, to focus on removing the things that humbugging people, sir. And that takes sometimes some very tricky things to do, because when you start to unravel things that culturally, sir, people have gotten accustomed to, they may not fully appreciate that the cost of continuing to do those things are the not just cost from a monetary perspective, but time and these things that people have gotten accustomed to, sir, that in making the transition, that requires not just consultation, but ensuring that people don't make decisions because somebody says that there's some fear which is grossly unfounded. And therefore, we have taken the time deliberately, so, sir, to make sure we have as broad as possible stakeholder consultations. But at the end of all the discussions, sir, you know what we got to do? We got to get on with the business of governing and delivering for people. And that is what this Barbados Labour Party, sir, is committed certainly to doing. In relation to the questions raised by the Honourable Member for St. Michael's South Central, sir, we have been monitoring our performance as it relates to revenue from the reforms we've undertaken, sir, with respect to the global minimum tax, the GLOBE rules. Consistent with what we've been doing under the BERT program up until now, we will continue, sir, focusing on, yes, apportioning some of any, let me say, sir, let me say extra, any resources that we have that allows us to cover our current expenditure, anything that is over and above, current and capital that is, over and above that, with respect to our current obligations, we want to make sure that, one, we continue to pay down debt in advance, which is why, sir, when I told you on Tuesday that we borrowed 7.3 but paid back 9.3, it is because we have been systematically paying down extra debt to give us space in the oncoming years to be able to ensure that we are creative with respect to the fiscal space. But there's that, sir, the government's capital works program with respect to ensuring that we can advance money certainly to state-owned enterprises to get on with the business of putting in water mains in the case of the Barbados Water Authority, investment with respect to infrastructure at SSA and other transport board with respect to buses and these types of things to ensure that the things that people expect that they can deliver by way of services, sir, we have been doing that to ensure that people can get to and from work and have their basic sanitation needs and those types of things improved, unlike what was the case in the previous 10 years, sir, before we came to office. And so those two things have been the priorities, but now we are saying, whilst we have a window of opportunity, sir, that we want to add this third plank with respect to ensuring then that we are setting up, sir, the economy to be as robust moving forward. I made a very clear point that as we transition to the point where we start to taper off in 5 to 7 years with respect to the public sector investment program, that it is important that we have something to be able to replace the space that might be created with respect to that. Now, yes, companies will have capital, and companies do have capital, but the reality is that we want them here, and we need them here to develop what they're doing in time to make sure that we can effect that transition. And therefore, we believe that, notwithstanding the other funds that are in place, the significant increase in foreign exchange, which, as I mentioned, sir, the amendments as outlined will address, will help us to be able to shape that environment. The reality is that in different size companies will have a different threshold with respect to their capacity and earning of foreign exchange, and therefore we want to be very deliberate, very strategic, very precise with respect to what we are doing sector by sector, and therefore the ability to be able to monitor that and to be flexible. To be flexible is going to be critically important within the context of a diversified space. And therefore, that is part of the reason why we will be delivering it by order to make sure that we have the flexibility to be able to say for this sector and for these size companies doing very specific things, sir, especially on the export side, especially on the employment with respect to Barbadians, that we're able to have the flexibility to monitor and implement, whilst at the same time being able to ensure then that we meet the thresholds with respect to the diversification. And so, sir, I am not going to detain the House much longer, and I want to give this honourable chamber the assurance that, as with every other intervention that we have done here, we have been open, transparent with respect to these matters. And therefore, it is not a departure from any of the norms with respect to Parliament. And at the end of all of this, I know that once the people of Barbados, in seeing and appreciating not just the work that we've done, but we continue to do, but I know that within the same way that 7.5 years ago, sir, there was great doubt about the government's ability. And I said, not we as the government, I'm talking about the country. 7.5 years ago, sir, there was great doubt as to whether or not we could pull ourselves back from where we were. That is not the case today. And I say to Barbadians that we are, in a sense, sir, making fresh guard, taking fresh guard in respect of what we want the next 7 years to look like. And therefore, the confidence that you placed in us 7.5 years ago, when we came to you, we made a very credible case, sir, with respect to what we can deliver. We have delivered that. And I'm saying to Barbadians tonight, sir, that on this and the other work that we are continuing, you can rest assured that we will continue to deliver. I agree 100% with the Honourable Member for St. Michael South. I say categorically, sir, the Prime Minister, sir, has traveled the world. She has opened many, 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 many doors that were not open or accessible, sir, to Barbados under the Democratic Labour Party administration, sir. People from outside of Barbados, sir, have given us, as members of Parliament, our officials, sir, the benefit of the doubt. Because the Honourable Member for St. Michael Northeast was confident enough, in spite of the bad shape that this Barbadian economy was in 7.5 years ago, sir, in spite of that bad shape, to go and say to people in every room, every capital that she has visited, to say, not just give Barbados a chance, but we are going to demonstrate, sir, that we can be true to our word, such that now, 7.5 years later, things are much, and I don't like the word easier, because as the Honourable Member for St. Michael South Central says, sir, when things are happening, people might get the impression that it is easy. But sir, it means you got to get up and do some work. The Prime Minister has been traveling, but not traveling on vacation, sir. And I wish, sir, I wish that the Prime Minister would do a live stream of her visits abroad, because when I go to Washington with her, sir, it's be like, my travel on my own, sir, it'd be hectic. Traveling with the Prime Minister, sir, it'd be doubly hectic. She has her schedule, I just have my schedule. I just got to interact and leave her from time to time to go and handle other business. But sir, I wish the Prime Minister would live stream so that Barbadians would understand that she's not out there so living a life of luxury, living in a hotel, relaxing, sir. The Prime Minister right now is in Abu Dhabi, working on behalf, sir, of the people of Barbados. And she has done so because we have, you see, unlike the previous administration, sir, probably more inward looking, we have from the very beginning said, in order for us to recover, sir, we need to build new partnerships. We opened an embassy in Panama, we opened an embassy in Ghana, we opened an embassy in Kenya. We opened an embassy in Abu Dhabi, sir. And we're supposed to have opened an embassy in India this year, but this fiscal year, that is in train, sir. And the reason for that, sir, as we are saying, 7.5 years ago, it was patently obvious. It should be clear even today why that strategy, sir, is important. And therefore, you don't just, and vice versa, I should say, and vice versa, countries have chosen to open embassies in Barbados again, sir, because the Prime Minister has been able to demonstrate to the world that, yes, Barbados may be small, but when Kofi Annan said that we punch above our weight, sir, people now are recognizing that Barbados is back. Now, that is nothing, sir, to be boastful about, because we had to work hard to make sure that Barbados' good name was repaired. But in repairing the good name, sir, in repairing the good name of Barbados, it is now time, sir, to make sure that we step on the gas and accelerate, because we cannot take anything for granted, sir. We simply cannot. And in our efforts to diversify the economy, we have to be able to be creative in order to be able to help deliver better for the people of Barbados. And I know, sir, that once the foreign exchange is being earned, the jobs being created, the tax revenues coming in, sir, people can be crawling about something else. And by that time, I know that the Leader of the Opposition, as he confessed today, sir, that he is on his way out, you would, because confession is really good for the soul. He tried to deflect on the Honourable Member for St. Thomas, but what he was really telegraphing, sir, was his own departure from this place. But in all seriousness, sir, our commitment is absolute with respect to the interests, the public interests of the people of Barbados, sir. And this bill before this chamber, what we did earlier today, what we did on Tuesday, sir, what we will do next week, sir, and every time we come here, sir, in this place to do the people's business, I want Barbadians to appreciate that this work is not easy. The Prime Minister ain't living in a lap of luxury when she leaves Barbados. She's working just as hard outside of Barbados as when she comes back. She will land and she gets moving again, just like as if she never left, sir. And therefore, I hope the people of Barbados appreciate that we have seen a lot happen in a short space of time, but it doesn't happen by magic, sir. As the PM will say, you don't have the, in Bewitched, you will snap your fingers, sir, when you're growing up, and think, oh, the nose, twirl your nose, right, and things will happen. It does not work like that. Each of us, as members of Parliament, our staff in our ministry, sir, we certainly have rolled up our sleeves. You might see me with sleeves, sir, but these are really armholes by now. But the reality is, sir, we have all rolled up our sleeves and gotten to work to make sure that we deliver for people. And bit by bit by bit by bit, Barbadians, sir, are seeing the benefits of that. And so, sir, I promise to be brief. That is the extent of my submission to wrap up this debate. I want to thank honourable members for their contribution. And as this will be my last submission with respect to I won't be here on Tuesday, I want to wish members of the House, the staff of Parliament, people of Barbados, sir, warm and very happy and safe holiday season, and all the very best, sir, in the new year. And with those few words, sir, I beg to move that this bill be read a second time.
The question is that this bill be read a second time. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that you do not leave the chair and the House resolve itself in committee for further consideration of this bill.
The question is that the Speaker do not leave the chair and the House resolve itself in the committee for further consideration of this bill. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it.
This Honourable House is now in committee.
Mr. Chairman, in the long title, I wish to insert after the word employment, the words earning of foreign exchange, comma.
The question is that the long title be so amended. All honourable members in favour, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clause 1.
Mr. Chairman, I beg to move that Clause 1 stand part.
Second.
The question is that Clause 1 stand par. All honourable members in favour, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Chair, I beg to move that Clause 2 stand part.
Second.
The question is that Clause 2 stand part. All honourable members in favour, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Chair, I beg to move that Clause 3 stand part.
Second.
The question is that Clause 3 stand part. All honourable members in favour, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Chair, Clause 4, I propose to delete this clause and substitute the following. Resources of the fund. 4, the resources of the fund shall consist of A, initial capital in the sum of $225 million to be drawn from the consolidated fund over a 3-year period in annual installments of $75 million, semicolon, and B, such other sums as are 1, approved by Parliament by resolution, 2, made available to the fund by way of gift, grant, or otherwise. I beg to move that Clause 4 stand part as amended.
Second.
The question is that Clause 4 as amended stand part. All honourable members in favour, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clause 5.
Chair, I beg to move that Clause 5 stand part.
The question is that Clause 5 stand part. All honourable members in favour, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clause 6.
Chair, Clause 6 in paragraph B, I propose to delete the words and diversification of business and substitute the words or diversification of business or both. With that, I beg to move that Clause 6 stand part as amended.
Second.
The question is that Clause 6 as amended stand part. All honourable members in favour, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clause 7.
Clause 7, Mr. Chairman, in subsection 1, A, insert after paragraph A the following. B, earns or will earn foreign exchange in an amount that equals or exceeds or will equal or exceed such amount as the minister may prescribe by order, semicolon, and B, renumber the existing paragraphs B and C as paragraphs C and D. Clause 2, in subsection 2, in the last line, insert after the word have, the words or will have. And with that, those amendments, I beg to move that Clause 7 stand part as amended.
Second.
The question is that Clause 7 stand part as amended. All honourable members in favour, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clause 8.
Clause 8, Mr. Chairman, in subsection 1, insert after the word may the words after consultation with the Barbados National Growth Council. And with that, I beg to move that Clause 8 stand part as amended.
The question is that Clause 8, as amended, stand part. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Clauses 9 through 12.
Mr. Chairman, I beg to move that Clauses 9 through 12 stand part.
Second.
The question is that Clauses 9 through 12 stand part. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Schedule.
Mr. Chairman, I beg to move that you do not report to His Honor the Speaker the passing of one. Oh, sorry. My apologies. I beg to move that the schedule be the schedule of the bill.
The question is that the schedule be the schedule to the bill. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I beg to move that you do not report to His Honor the Speaker the passing of one bill in committee with amendments.
Second.
The question is that I do not report to His Honor the Speaker the passing of one bill in committee with amendments. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
As reported in the passing of one bill in committee with amendments. All members of Christ Church Essential.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this bill be read a third time.
The question is that this bill be read a third time. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this bill be now passed and cited as the Economic Diversification and Growth Fund Act 2025.
Second.
The question is that this bill be passed and so cited. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it. This bill is passed and so cited.
To government notices.
Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to give notice of the Public Service Appointments Bill 2025.
Revert, sir, to first readings of bills.
Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the first reading of the Public Service Appointments Bill 2025.
The question is that the aforementioned bill be read a first time. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it. Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Mr. Speaker, with that, we've come to the end of today's sitting. I therefore beg to move the adjournment of the House until Tuesday, the 16th of December at 10 a.m.
Question is that this chamber be adjourned until Tuesday, the 16th day of December at 10 a.m. in the forenoon. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it. This honorable chamber stands adjourned until the 16th day of December 2025 at 10 a.m. in the forenoon.